If some young Australians still want to become the Richie Benaus of tomorrow, there are signs that many more may prefer to become the midget Farrellys. For it's taken barely 2 summers of hard sell promotion to make the surfboard rival the tennis racket and the cricket ball as a symbol of Australian sport. The final proof of the campaign's success was impressive. 60,000 people took up vantage points on Sydney's Manly Beach to watch what was called the World Surfboard Championships, sponsored by an oil company. The world title went to Midget Farrelly, the Sydney teenager who'd previously won an international title at Hawaii. At the age of 19, Farrelly has become the idol of the blossoming surfy cult. And through his newspaper column that's syndicated in several states, he's preached his gospel of the waves.
Speed is probably one of the most noticeable things, but you also get satisfaction from putting the necessary things into your riding to make the ride a successful one. Such things as walking, if I can get a little bit technical, walking, stalling, turning, trimming, nose riding, climb and dropping, cutbacks, drop-ins, all these sort of things. You know, you have to put them together to fit the wave. The wave naturally isn't like a straight line that you can just ride along. It's changing, it's getting bigger, smaller, choppier, smoother, more powerful. It's turning inside out, and possibly sometimes it doesn't even break. So of course you've got to have the necessary manoeuvres in your repertoire to carry you through and allow you to do the most functional things.
Do you think that sometimes all this publicity has attracted the wrong types of teenagers to surfboard riding?
Yes, it has. Fortunately, they're a minority. I think that possibly every other sport gets the same hangers-on, no-gooders. We've had our share. We're still getting our share, but as soon as the weather gets cold, as soon as the surf gets big, as soon as it gets a little bit tough, they're not there. And of course that will prove their character. I think that in a few years, when the boom has gone out of it and it's really settling into a concrete sport, we won't have any hangers-on.
To meet the demand for surfboards, a string of shops and factories has sprung up behind Sydney's northern beaches. Prices range from £40 to £55, but credit schemes and hire purchase agreements put a surfboard within the grasp of almost any teenager. And it's in the factories that a new breed of craftsmen are practicing their art with plastic foam and fiberglass. All of them keen surfers, they shape their boards not just for the customer, but for the beach of the customer's choice.
Well, this style of board is designed for a point surf board. It's an island-shaped board. It's designed to get down the face of the wave fast so that you don't get caught inside the curl and you don't get knocked to the bottom. The other design is our hot dog board, which is designed for about a 5-foot surf, where you run down the face of the wave, come back up to the top and drop down and, in general, run up and down the wave.
Estimates of the peak summer production of surfboards in Sydney rose as high as 400 a week, and this ever-growing armada of surfboards posed a serious threat to the life and limbs of the lowly body surfer. It wasn't long before surfboards, like motor cars, had to be registered for 5 or 10 shillings a year, and a fresh crop of signboards came sprouting out of the sand. To the beach inspectors, supervising surfboards became an even more arduous job than either chasing dogs off the beach or policing bikinis. For men like Bob Brewster, the beach supervisor at Manly, the surfboard was a challenge.
Well, board riders were just picking the waves that suited them, riding in amongst the public, and some of them were getting hurt, board riders and the public. We have incidences reported to us where chaps have been hit and cut about and have been taken to hospital through boards, and where board riders themselves have been hit with their own boards and their mates' boards. And it was just becoming bedlam at one stage. We have had to impound up to 28 boards on one day, and we've records showing this incident.
Well, in practical terms today, how do you police this beach against the troublemakers on surfboards?
We have PA systems along the beaches which we can broadcast to these chaps, and we give them fair warning. Now, if they persist in riding outside of their area, we have no alternative but to take their board from them, impound it for a time, or if they're really a menace, recommend to council that they be dealt with more harshly.
In sharp contrast to the controls on board riding was the boundless freedom and initiative of the manipulators of teenage tastes. If the resulting image was a colourful one, it also boosted the sales of peroxide, for many a bottle was emptied in conforming to the image of the blonde-headed, stompy-wompy, real-gone surfer boy. Inevitably, surfing music made a rapid climb up the charts of popular music into the top ranks of the top 40. And with it rose the slick jargon of the surfing, much of it from the USA. But it was an Australian policeman, Senior Constable Ben Acton, who wrote a surfing song called Hangin' 5 that became a virtual glossary of surfing jargon.
Oh, well, it's early in the morning and it's time to make a start, and I put my poly surfboard on the rack upon my car. I head down to the surf side where the waves are breaking fine. I'm gonna catch a mountain, but I won't go down the mine. You gotta walk the plank, ride the hook, corner left and right, and keep it nice and tight. And now the time is drawing near, you're moving down the wall. Now steady as she goes, you got your toes upon the nose, and now you're hanging five, hanging five, hanging five, toes upon the Malibu.
Somewhere between the weekend surfers with steady jobs and the surfing stars who earn a living shaping boards are the nomadic surfers, perhaps 100 of them in Australia, who roam up and down the coast in search of a wave. The car and the surfboards are essential, the occasional job useful. One of the boards cost £48, the car cost $30. Gavin Cooper is one of the nomads. He's facing his 21st birthday with nearly 5 years of wandering behind him.
Tell us, how did you blonde your hair?
Out of the bottle. Decore, proper stuff, you know. Decore and jazz it up with a bit of peroxide. I did it. Came out all right too the first time. I was quite proud of it.
Well, now, why did you do it?
Oh, just to be in, you know, one of the fellas sort of thing. Oh, well, sort of goes with it, you know. With the suntan, it's a good contrast. I like it, and I did it.
Just what sort of a pattern of life do you have, living a life of surfing?
Oh, it's a life. It's just a way of life, and something that I like, and I think I'm just made for that sort of life, and I want to carry on that way.
What sort of jobs do you take to get the money?
Oh, the highest paid jobs I can get, mainly labouring, you know. You get a labourer's job and you get about £22, £23 a week. If you get a good job, you maybe get 25, 26. And you work and you save. You really scringe and scummage and that and save, and then you work for 2, 3, 3.5, 4 months, and then you just take the rest of the year off. Unless things go bad, you don't work. Sometimes you work a few weeks here and there.
What is it that you're trying to get away from by being a surfer?
Oh, the same day in and day out routine, you know. You go to work in the morning, you come home at night, you're taking a bit of telly, you go to bed. Saturday, you go to the pub, you go to the football or something like that. Sunday, you stay home, you read the paper, you have a big hot dinner, you watch a bit of television, and you go to bed again. Oh, it's just the routine after a while. I mean, you must get bored. I just don't like that sort of living, that's all.
The boom in surfing brought with it the Stomp, the dance craze that started on the beaches. As to which side of the Pacific is still open to argument. But although the Beatles have sent the surfing songs toppling down the charts, the pounding footwork of the Stomp continues to test the soundness of dancehall floorboards up and down the coast.
Well, we really enjoy getting out there and just letting ourselves go, just like the kids like to get out and let themselves go jiving and stomping. Well, we like to let ourselves go on our instruments. Well, it's sort of just something the same.
Well, we're pushing on a few years, and the average age of the dancers would be about 16. So they say if you can't beat them, we'll join them. So we have to really get with it to put our age over.
Some things we do up on stage is just, well, normal life. You think they're absolutely ridiculous, but you've just got to do it to achieve what we're after, to get the kids going. Well, at first we felt idiots doing some of the things we do, but you've just got to do it.
At the end of the night, well, you're really exhausted, I can tell you.
The most active promoter of surfboard riding as a sport in Australia has been Bob Evans, president of the Surf Riders Association, publisher of a surfing magazine and the producer of surfing films.
Bob, how much money have you been able to make promoting this surfing boom?
Well, in gross figures, it's been fairly considerable, I expect, but in terms of net return, it wouldn't be considered to be a great amount, but it's been sufficient to keep myself and my family, my wife and 3 children, going all year long, and to help us pay for our house and run our car and do all the normal things, and plus put a little bit in the bank each year, I suppose.
Do you think there are many people in Australia who've made big profits out of this boom in surfing?
Yeah, in spasmodic bits and pieces, I'd say that the retail stores capitalised on the fad section of the sport over this last summer, and certainly the recording people, the music people. They say the surf movie people did. Well, I consider we did pretty well out of it. But I don't think anybody made so much money out of it that they would push it all the way through the winter. They've got to wait for the season to come around again. They've got to create a new story for their winter selling.
What damage do you think all this promotion has done to the sport?
I think it did considerable damage to it, because the retailers, in the main, always motivated, of course, by the advertising agencies, jumped onto the bandwagon at a very late stage and very badly prepared for it. It was fairly obvious to me that most of the agencies didn't have a clue about the type of material that they were trying to present, and a lot of it was done in extremely bad taste. It presented the picture of the surfer incorrectly. It presented him definitely as a faddist, and these things are what the Australian Surf Riders Association and all its state branches have had to work so hard to counteract these impressions.
How much do you come into collision with the interests of the surf life-saving associations on the beaches?
The Surf Life Saving Association has been losing their members now for, they'll probably argue with me saying this, but I'm a member of a surf club, have been for over 20 years. They've been losing their members for 10 years. And I don't think that the surfboard, the advent of the modern surfboard, had such a great effect on the drop in their enrolments. I think it was mainly a national social problem. Teenagers today earn more money. They have less control over their actions. They get a car as soon as they're old enough. They can afford it. They get their surfboard. They get their girlfriend. And unrestrained as they are, they make off for new pursuits of adventure and pleasure. And they just don't want to be tied down to any one spot or restricted by an older man every weekend saying, well, this is your patrol and you've got to stick at the club here, you can't leave this beach. You've got to behave yourself to the furthest extent when you're around this particular club. Mind you, I think there's a lot of good in the Surf Life Saving Association.
The invasion of tens of thousands of fiberglass surfboards onto the beaches, where the lifesaver has reigned supreme in prestige for decades, has not been accepted without some anguish among the life-saving clubs. This has led to a good deal of self-appraisal among rank-and-file members, and some of their concern was voiced this week by one of Sydney's leading surf club coaches, Alan May.
Well, I feel that it has affected the surf life-saving clubs, in as much as we're not getting the younger man in doing what we want him to do, and that is training hard to emulate champions. You see, in the past, the younger man would come into the club and would work very hard at his normal duties on the beach, and also would come into the competitive field. Now, in this competitive field, although basically we are not a competitive body, this competitive field is a vital part of our organisation, and we have to give some incentive, which these people have given. They've given an incentive to the younger person to emulate the champion.
Do you feel then that the surfboard riders have stolen the glamour that the lifesavers once held on the beaches?
Well, they have taken a great deal of glamour, which is obvious with the amount of publicity and all that they have been able to obtain.
Well, what do you think the surf life-saving clubs need to do to counteract this?
Well, I feel that the logical answer would be to produce some of the obvious colour that we have. If we could get our champions and gain backing and finance to send teams overseas, the top-line teams, I feel, the best that we can produce, where the young man would come into the surf club again and he would emulate those champions in the hope that he might be able to gain those trips. So competition does become a vital part of it. And we must exploit the top line men and give them trips away, try and get finance, papers behind us, whatever we can do. If this could be done, then I feel that we can make the Australian lifesaver back into the once colourful position that he did enjoy in the Australian way of life.
Along with the fad of bleached hair, much of the razzle-dazzle of the popular surfy cult may have subsided by next summer. Meanwhile, the chilly winter breakers are tackled only by the dedicated surf riders like Arthur Huntley, one of the nomads.
I'll go on surfing until I can't paddle out in the wide water anymore and until I can't stand up on a surfboard. And that will be when I'm about 50, I think.